Another installment of the McCue Report as we wind down fall camp, wrapping things up here in the month of August, heading into that first football game of the season. I'm Dave Koehn, Director of Broadcasting and Voice of the Cavaliers, joined by, as always, by Jeff White, Director of News Content for VirginiaSports.com. Glad to have you along for the ride, Jeff. We've had a chance to talk about all sorts of things surrounding this team here in 2017, but you know, the reality is, when you look at this team, defense may just be what rules the day for Bronco Mendenhall's team here in this 2017 calendar year.
Yep, there were a lot of first-time starters on defense last year. You know, there were some rough moments with that young group. The good news is, you know, the overwhelming majority of those guys are back this year. They have a year of experience on their resumes. They're more comfortable in Coach Mendenhall's system. It should be a better group. Obviously, the X factor, as always, are injuries. You know, can the group stay healthy? But I think the coaches feel good about the first 11. I know you spent some time with the coaching staff on Friday on both sides of the ball. What's their general feeling at this point about the defense?
Yeah, I think a lot of optimism. And you mentioned some of the X factors coming into this year. One of them was on that defensive line, and ironically, that is an area where maybe there is more confidence than most positions across this roster. And I think a lot of that starts with the fact that a guy that you hear talked about consistently, Eli Hanback, has been able to answer the bell as it relates to trying to fill that void left by Dante Wilkins at nose tackle. So can he take up space, take some of the pressure off of those linebackers? He's been doing a great job of that. The other name we've heard a lot of lately is Trusilla, the judge.
Right.
James Trusilla has been able to really take over his position on that end part of the defensive line and really improve. He's been one of the real surprises of camp, and this comes on the heels of news, obviously, that we heard Jack Powers won't be a part of this team moving forward this season due to an injury. So that, you know, when you hear you lose a guy like that, it's pretty good to know that perhaps one of the deepest positions they feel like right now may be on that defensive line.
Yeah, you've got Andrew Brown back, and obviously he's played a lot of football here. He needs to take that next step. This is his last chance at Virginia to do so, but clearly he has the physical tools to be an impact player. Jawan Moy, who played some nose tackle last year, is working primarily at end. This year he's been very solid. Trusilla, who you mentioned, Stephen Wright, there's Christian Baumgartner, there's Christian Brooks. I think there are a lot of pieces that the coaches feel good about. There are good pieces at linebacker as well. What there's not at linebacker, particularly on the outside, is depth. And I know from your conversations with the coaches that they're acutely aware of that, aren't they?
Yeah, it's one of the two positions on this team that you feel like you just don't have much margin for error. And you've got Malcolm Cook. Thankfully, he's back after missing all of last season, but he's still adjusting, trying to get into that everyday flow of playing after dealing with injuries really throughout his entire career, really trying to make a push here at the very end of it here in the 11th hour. But on the other side, a younger guy, Chris Peace, is another name to keep a close eye on as you watch this season unfold. Some of the gains that he has made, he's added a lot of weight, yet he's playing faster than he did a season ago, and really occupying that Sam linebacker position. When you watch a 3-4 defense like the one that Bronco Mendenhall has been putting in, whether it's at BYU or here at UVA, you know that this is a position that is incredibly important for this team.
The marquee position.
It's the Kyle Van Noy. It's the playmaker, the guy that can't let anybody get that edge. Peace has shown an ability to play that role pretty well. You just hope he can stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean, he's at a point in his career where we've seen a lot of players take a big step from their sophomore year to their junior year, second year to third year. I don't see any reason why he can't make that jump this year. I think he's smart, he's big, he's fast, he's strong, and if he can do that, and if he can be a disruptive force on the outside coming off the edge and pass rush and playing the run well, you know, it becomes a better defense. But the more playmakers you have, obviously the harder it is for the offense to scheme against them.
Yeah, in these units all working hand in hand, I think it's important to note when Eli Hanback is able to take some of the pressures off of these linebackers, he's letting those guys play a little more cleanly and going back again to this system. That's important.
He just keeps getting better. He's bigger this year, and I mean, the great news for Virginia is he's got 3 seasons of eligibility left, too.
Yeah, and I think you hit on an important part there. He's added 35 pounds to his frame. You look at Jawan Moy, he's added 40 pounds to his frame from where he was at when he first arrived here. Baumgartner has added 73 pounds to his frame in 18 months. That is the most that Frank Winterick said he has ever seen, 16 years in that period of time, adding weight, and he's still under 18% body fat. So some pretty amazing numbers, and that bulk is going to come into big play here, you have to think, going into this season.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Coach Mendenhall, when he reviewed last season, one of the things that jumped out at him was the fact that his team needed to get bigger and stronger, and a lot of players have made steps in the right direction in that regard.
A lot to be determined still as we go into that first week of the season coming up on September 2nd when William & Mary comes to town. We'll be talking more specifically about that matchup next week when we round things out for the McCue Report. Thanks for watching, everybody.